You're tuned in to Shake, Rattle, and Goal, the official podcast of your Springfield Thunderbirds.
Becca's there on the backhand, scoring the save, rebound in the crease, they score!
Hosted by Matt Baker and Steve Forney. A show that's everything Springfield hockey, with interviews including players, coaches, and staff.
The Springfield Indians repeat as the Calder Cup champions.
Listen to this podcast on all major streaming platforms and wherever you download podcasts.
In his first year at the helm, Kevin McDonald and Drew Bannister have the Teamers in the Calder Cup Finals.
Watch the podcast on the official Shake, Rattle, and Goal YouTube page at SRG Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker and Steve Forney.
In this episode number 10 of Season 2 of the Shake, Rattle, and Goal podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in downtown Springfield and in Amherst, by our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam, and by our friends at Landscaping That Fitz, 413-847-0338. Alongside Matt Baker, I am Steve Forney. Matt, it's a pleasure to sit down and do this all over again.
Here we go again. And I'm glad the mood is still a positive one. I'm enjoying this trend, this pattern that we're in right now. So let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, just quick takeaways from the weekend. 4 out of 6 points, but to me, the big thing was they didn't give up any. So you played 2 teams within your division, and you weren't giving away overtime, shootout, loss, pity points. You were winning in regulation. You got 2, they got none. That was essentially an 8-point swing against both of those teams in Hartford and Providence. So if you lose to Utica, you lose to Utica. Everybody is. It seems
right.
Like at least you won the games that I think you needed to win, and you did it in 3 periods.
I actually, that was exactly what I was going to say. 4 to 6 points. It's the, I don't know, the better of the 4 points, right?
Definitely.
If you lose to the Wolfpack and you beat Utica, it's still the same amount of points for us. But standing wise, you got to win these Atlantic Division matchups and establish some level of dominance. And if you look across the league or more specifically across the division, I don't know if Hershey is as scary as they were the last 2 years. So there's 8 teams in the division, right? So Hershey's just one of them, but if you're the Thunderbirds, just keep playing good, solid hockey and keep winning these divisional matchups, and we'll see what happens. But it's a good weekend.
Keep staying above 500 as long as you can. So we got a lot to talk about. We got the injury update. We have recaps from the auction, recaps of the games. We have fan rants. So we got a pretty jam-packed show. Yep. We also have something a little more outside of the box that we're going to get into as well. So Matt, where would you like to start, since we got lots to get to?
Oof. Well, you know what? Let's kind of start with maybe the not so nice, maybe a little bit of the ugly.
Okay.
If you're okay with that. And
sure, get it out of the way.
Let me start. Fans, we love you. We are fans of the game, but I would like to address some things that have been brought to my attention, to our attention, as far as just sort of some of the fan and adult behavior at some of our games. And I think it's good for people to hear that we're all coming to the Mass Mutual Center to enjoy a hockey game and to enjoy entertainment. And some of us might be, by ourselves. Some of us might be with our kids. Some of us might be there for the first time with friends. And I will say this, look, 2 things that were brought to my attention from this past weekend, I have seen firsthand. So I'm just going to address what was brought to our attention, and then I'll just share my story. This isn't just, one person's viewpoint. I will share what happened and that I've seen. So it was brought to our attention of adults kind of jumping in front of kids to grab sticks from players or to try to get pucks from players, and also other fans, other adults yelling and complaining at each other for cheering too loud or cheering in somebody's ear. Okay, so I think, right, it's fair to say those are kind of the elephants in the room as far as some behavior that's been going on at the Mass Mutual Center. I will say this. I have witnessed firsthand at a kids club event, adults getting into arguments with each other over a player trying to give one kid a hockey stick. Again, at a kids club event. Because of that behavior, they had to change some of their rules and guidelines, the Thunderbirds. And so now players are no longer allowed to give sticks or throw pucks during their kids club breakfast. And again, I think it's a shame that adults,
Who loses out the most here?
the kids.
kid.
This
Right.
is a kids, again, speaking from my personal experience, it was the kids club breakfast event, still something my kids look forward to all season long. They love attending the practice, watching the practice, seeing how the practice goes, and being able to interact with players that way. But adults kind of ruining a little element of it, where now players are no longer allowed to try to throw anything to the kids. I've also had my kids yelled at by an adult for screaming and cheering on the T-Birds. Her complaint was, they're killing my ears. And look, again, I can understand. I'm a teacher. I teach elementary phys ed. Kids are always screaming. I understand they're loud. I've made my comment about the kids take over game, the field trip game. There's not enough bass in that scream. I understand that. But for adults, again, my personal experience, for an adult to turn around and yell at my children and their two friends for screaming when the make noise meter is up, you got to get over yourself. I'm sorry. Those of you who listen, thank you. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just, get over yourself. If it's too loud for you, we have great front office staff for this team. Sorry, front office staff, if I'm speaking for you, but I'm pretty sure if you went to them at Ticket HQ, addressed an issue you're having, hey, fans behind me, kids are screaming a little bit too loud, could I move my seat? Everybody is there to have fun. And if it's too much for you, maybe going to a hockey game isn't your thing, but look for different avenues instead of trying to belittle children or other adults for simply cheering. That being said, as a fan, there are lines that we as fans shouldn't cross. If you're screaming profanities, if you're using foul language, you will hear me tell you to stop. My kids don't need to hear that. And nobody needs to hear that, right? But if you're simply cheering on your team, you could be a fan of the visiting team. I'm fine if you're cheering, if your team did something that you want to cheer for, cheer. And I think let's just get back to an understanding that everyone is there to enjoy a hockey game. Everyone is there to be entertained. Everybody has a right to feel like they can cheer and support their team any way they want, really. Again, I shouldn't say any way they want. There are lines you could cross.
Yeah, right.
But cheering for your team, ringing a cowbell. If the cowbell is in your ear, move to another seat. Again, we have great front office staff who I'm pretty sure can figure out a way to keep you happy. To turn and yell at an adult or yell at children, push children out of the way to steal a stick. Again, I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but take a step back and really think if some of these, again, I love the T-Birds. I'll take a puck signed any day from these guys. Like we've got our stash in our basement, little trophy area, whatever you call it. But a stick from one of these players is simply for your enjoyment to look at. You're not going to be able to sell this at auction for, $500,000 in a few years. Let's call a spade. What you're doing is pushing kids out of the way for your enjoyment. Let's stop over obsessing over some of these player memorabilia. Let the kids have fun. Let the kids make memories. Let the kids become a lifetime fan of the Thunderbirds and hockey itself. And us adults just I don't know. Let's get back to being better, I guess.
Well, that's well said. I mean, I not much I can really add to it. And again, I don't get a lot of that from where I am. I do hear things yelled. I usually can't make out what is being yelled because of I'm entrapped in plexiglass. But I'm as long as you're cheering and not shouting out profanities, I'm all for it. And I mean, if you're there, I mean, we see people on the jumbotron there. They're like reading a book. It's like if that's how you want to spend your intermission, that's fine. But when the team gets a big power play, and you're reading your book and you're upset you don't have any peace and quiet, like the Springfield library is like right there.
Yeah.
So look, I mean, I get it both ways, but you're right. There are better ways to handle the situation. And I mean, again, as a high school teacher, whenever we have an issue, it's really never the kids, it's the grownups.
Yeah.
It's the grownups that it's like, why can't we get on the same page? The students are all ready to go, but this is standing in our way. And it's usually something adult related.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, I get it. My kids are yelling and screaming in your ear. You can have a conversation with me, or again, you can move your seat. Everyone is there to enjoy the game. Everyone is there to have a good time. And, I don't think we need to be yelling at each other or, making each other feel uncomfortable about the way they're cheering, or again, knocking over kids to get a used hockey stick.
Guys, it is December. You're going to be in the same arena with each other for a long time. You got till what, April? So you guys got to figure this out. You got to act like grown-ups and figure this out. We don't have
maybe later, but
hopefully later.
But I'm with you. Look, let's have fun at the Thunderdome. We don't need any more, again, adult problems, adult behavior problems. And if for whatever reason your seat is too loud, again, I apologize to the front office staff if I'm creating a headache for you, but I've seen people do it before. Hey, I need to move my seat, and they'll do their best to work with you. But if you're looking for peace and quiet, if you have a headache, I don't know, maybe going to a hockey game isn't your thing.
Yeah.
Or stay on the concourse and watch from the TV.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, with the front office staff, one of the stories that we saw that was one of the things that brought this to our attention was that the front office staff, I just had it. I remember the front office staff came down and gave the child who didn't get the stick that they were supposed to get, gave them a autographed puck, which I think the message said, "We have eyes everywhere," was what the staff person said. So tip of the cap to the front office for always looking for these things and
100%.
making it right as best they can, but still should even get to that point. That's the last thing they need to be doing is putting out the fire because they have to chase down a signed puck because Jimmy's crying because somebody else did something that they shouldn't have done. Like, again, that's elementary school teacher stuff. Yeah. Really, with all due respect, Matt. So it's,
it's what I deal with on a regular basis.
Don't get mad at the 6-year-old for acting 6. Get mad at the 46-year-old for acting 6. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
So let's be we can kind of move on from that. Actually, if you want to sort of stay in that same department, kind of sort of, but not really. The Bitsy's Army jersey auction, which went off really well.
Yep.
I think we got it moving. We raised a bunch of money. And Sam Bitten, my co-host, me and Kevin's co-host for the evening, $1,500 jersey. That's awesome. That dude's just so much fun. He just the energy. He didn't stop smiling. Like, it's a jersey auction. You're there after the game. You probably just want to go shower and have a bite to eat. And he's just out there smiling, giggling, making jokes, just being awesome.
That's great.
It was a good time.
Yeah. And so I looked at the numbers. Just a few highlighted jerseys, like you mentioned, Sam, 1,500, Ellis, 1,400. He was the goalie that got the win. Dalibor Dvorsky's 1,200 were a total of, and again, my math could have been off a little bit, but I had a total of $21,000. So well done, fans. Great job. It seems like it was a successful auction. Money there going to Bitsy's Army for the Hockey Fights Cancer Night. So job well done all around. And the jerseys looked great.
They did.
They really
did.
They
were real sharp.
Amazing how the design department. What's the correct name?
Yeah, so that's Lucas Armstrong. He does everything photography, digital media. So you'll see him on the ice with a camera. When there's an anthem And now
Yeah.
a little girl singing the anthem. He's the guy pretty much right in front of her, snapping pictures. Just an otherworldly talent of graphic design, photography, videography, you name it. Kids
Right.
money.
As somebody who just can appreciate what I see, I don't have the mind to create it. Right. Wow, I like that. I'm amazed at how he can and his team can recreate the same jersey so many times, but yet make it look fresh and new every single time we see it. This is, I believe, the third Bitsy's Army jersey. So you're not just slapping some purple on what is your existing Thunderbirds jersey, or they're redesigning a whole new jersey. And I believe this is their third Bitsy's Army, but that goes with all of their jerseys. Their throwback ones that they were in Sunday in Providence. Just being able to reinvent sort of the same concept and be so unique at the same time. Job very well done. Great job.
Yeah, Lucas did those too, and like you're right. It's not just like take an old picture from 1974 and copy and paste it. You got to kind of redesign it from scratch.
Yeah.
And the dude just crushed it. So,
yep.
Super nice guy. Awesome what he does. We're into the same music, so we're always talking about our favorite music. But Lucas is phenomenal, and he just does a great job. Yeah. And again, for those curious, this was a home and home throwback night, which I love the idea.
Yeah.
You can tell that this is why I like this league, because they talk. Like Providence and Springfield get together and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? It's good for you. It's good for us. Why don't we make this happen?" That's so cool. I don't think, like the Bruins and the Ottawa Senators, the Boston Bruins and the Ottawa Senators aren't doing that. The Rangers and the Islanders aren't doing that, right? So, like, I think that's kind of a unique thing that you get here, where these organizations can partner up and do this kind of thing. And then it'd be cool to see those Bruins throwbacks with the old Pooh Bear here in Springfield.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Do other teams auction off their specialty jerseys like the Thunderbirds do?
I do not know. I think a lot of them go online and they become more of like a online auction.
Okay.
So I honestly don't know the answer to that, but
because I was just wondering, I mean, if you're the Bruins, you kind of get the short end of the stick a little bit, because the second time you're wearing these jerseys, you're away. So you can't reap the benefits of a live post-game auction like the Thunderbirds can.
Unless you just do it after your next home game.
That's true too, but I mean,
it
won't
on a Saturday night.
Would it have the same feel?
Gravitas, probably not.
Right. Like you do these all the time. If you had to do after the team's next home game, Friday night against the Islanders, after that game, if you did the Bitsy's Army jersey night, would it have the same feel? Would it have the same?
Yeah, I probably not.
Yeah.
But I do think these things are kind of like, I feel, and again, I don't have the numbers to back this up. I don't have anything else to go off of, but I feel like it matters if we win or not.
Sure.
It matters if the players come out. Like, so this one they had Providence the next day. So instead of having the players come out with the jerseys, Sam was out, and Sam would get the players' jerseys and he would hold them up and pass them out. They were all autographed and stuff. I would imagine the numbers are higher when Dalibor Dvorsky himself comes out and he holds his own jersey, and then this guy gets it, so they come down, and then Dvorsky signs it and hands it directly to that person who won the bid. I feel like the numbers are higher when they do that. But again, you can only control what you can control. I know there was one game last year where they had a snowstorm.
Yes, I remember.
And they had to head out, and there weren't any players, and the numbers, I believe, were a little bit lower. But I mean, again, it's a snowstorm. So either way, you get 21 grand for some pretty good causes.
Yeah.
We had issues last year, and again, I say this, I don't know any of this to be true, but there was like 3 weekends in a row where we had jersey auctions.
Yep.
And I feel like there was one season ticket member who said, my check hasn't even cleared since the last jersey auction. Like, can I get a payday here before I come back here and start auctioning? So, there's other factors involved, and I think what makes it work. If you get smoked 7-2, you're not selling them as high as if you, guy gets a hat trick and boom, he's going for $2,400. So
well, I mean that would be part of the reason why you're looking to, hey, I've got the jersey they won in, you got a little blood stain on it,
right?
That the jerseys, those types of auctions, like I don't know, this is how I feel as a sports fan, as a memorabilia collector. You want something that tells a story as well.
Mhm.
So what story is this jersey telling that I can wear, that I can hang up on my wall, whatever the case may be? But
I will
proud,
say,
money for a good cause.
yeah,
right?
I never do this. I never do this, but I had that we had specialty pucks, and at the end of the game, Chief, it's like, hey, we got extra pucks. You want one? I'm like, sure. So I get the pucks, got the cool T-Birds thing on it, and shout out to Brady Deniston because I knew he had Sharpies. It's like I text him like, Brady, you got a silver Sharpie? He's like, yeah, I got one. I'm like, can I borrow that thing? He's like, sure. So after the game, I met up with Shay, the social media manager.
Yep.
I was like, any chance while he's back there with his jersey, Pekka can just sign this for me real quick? And 5 minutes later, she comes out with the signed puck from Pekka, and I gave it to my son. My son was like thrilled. So it's
Awesome.
like, again, it's not for me, but I guess I never try to bother these guys with that stuff, except for one maybe special birthday that one of yours may or may not have had last year.
That is
the Adam
still
Gaudette puck.
That puck is still top of our puck case.
Like
We have like
leading-
the thing on the wall.
Yeah, the leading goal scorer for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
So, but no, the jersey auction went well. I dread them, but they always go better than I think they're gonna go. So people don't care. I'm just so bad with numbers. Like everybody holds up a number, and it'll be like, all right, 400 and number 12. 500 and number 27, 600 and number, and then before you know it, I'm going 2,400 and number 7. And I'm like, wait a minute, no. 700 and number 24.
It's a lot of pressure on you.
It's my brain. I have dyslexia and numbers just they don't compute. So like it's funny when Kevin's doing it, I'm sitting there going, I'm muttering to myself, 15 for 2,400, 15 for 2,400, 15 for 24. Okay, 27 for 2,500, 27 for 2,500. Because like I'm like, that's the only way I'm gonna remember.
Yeah.
So I do. I try my best. I'm not an auctioneer, but we get through it and we make some money. So I'm happy to help out.
There you go.
For sure. So a couple other quick notes, maybe before we get to the recaps and the fan rants. Dalibor Dvorsky, player of the month for the Thunderbirds, 11 games played, 5 goals, 5 assists, plus 7. Kid is really feeling it. We've talked about this line. Kaskamaki and Snuggerud. Jimmy Snuggerud. Oh, yeah, he's the other guy we're going to talk about. Silvagard. Silvagard had a nice weekend as well, but that line's still cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to, I've had this question myself. I've heard people ask it. When is Dvorsky going up to St. Louis? And we wanted to try to get ahead of this and share the information we have as best as we can, as best as we can understand it. So this is how, I don't want to speak for you. So if you have something else you want to add in here, Steve, let me know.
Well, no, we reached out to Ryan Smith, who would know way more than I do. And basically what he says is as far as he understands, and he wasn't like, this is how it works. He was like, as far as I know, if he, we asked about his entry-level contract, and you were wondering if he it's like a 3-year entry-level contract. If he goes up to St. Louis, does that immediately start kicking in? Ryan said his understanding is that as long as he doesn't play 10 games for St. Louis, the entry-level contract won't kick in until next year. So he could go up to St. Louis, play 9 games, come back down. I then asked, because, again, it's so convoluted and the fact that he's only 19, I said, okay, well, if he gets called up, can he be sent down, or does he have to go back to his junior team? Because that has happened in the past with players that get called up, or maybe that's just the video game. I don't know. It's so much simpler in the video game than it is in real life. He said there's absolutely zero chance he goes back to juniors. So that he's certain about. But he does say, however, he could play in the World Junior Championship for Slovakia. I haven't seen the timeline on that. I would guess that's happening in the middle of the AHL season. Maybe not in the middle, but he would miss some AHL time for that. And I think I'm okay with that. I think I like when these 19, 20-year-old kids go play in a junior tournament against the best of their age group. And while I think it's something playing against 30 and 31-year-olds, isn't it nice to go out and be the best of your peers?
Yeah.
And I think if he can go out there and play for Team Slovakia and be the leading scorer and get him into the bronze medal game, the gold medal game, like that would be huge for him. Then he comes back and boom, he's got confidence and he's crushing it in the A. So I would be okay with that happening. It would obviously hurt our team here, but I'm just talking the players' actual development and growth. We'll see what happens when the time comes, but
and I would
that's sort of how
expect.
it shakes out.
I really would expect. We'll have to see how, if the Blues keep winning with Monty and what he wants to do, but it would make sense. I don't necessarily think that Dvorsky is the missing piece to a Stanley Cup run for St. Louis right now. So I also don't think that St. Louis is an organization that pinches pennies and is like, well, if we keep them down there, we save some extra bucks. I don't think they want wins just like any team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dvorsky goes up, they get eyes on him. Hey, let's just see how this development is. Monty hasn't seen this guy play yet. I wouldn't be surprised if soonish, the start of the new month, Dvorsky gets a call up for a week or two and then comes back down, and let's just put eyes on him. Let's see what he can do. So then we call him up a few months later, see where the progression is, kind of thing. That wouldn't surprise me. But he's starting to turn it up, but he's still, you made this point. I think he's a top 6 forward in the NHL. That's his trajectory. He's not that yet. So why rush something? Why hurt his development? If it's working in St. Louis with what you got up there, it's working down here in Springfield. Keep him down here. Let him develop. Let him focus and hone in on some certain skills. Next year, he's ready for big top 6 minutes in the NHL, and you got him all year. And I think it would also basically extend the time that you had him, because if you brought him up now and started that contract, albeit a third of the season you lost with Dvorsky, but hey, you would have that extra time at the end of the contract. So, and
then you got to negotiate sooner, and if you don't know what you want to do in that regard. I did just look it up. The World Junior Championship is December 26th of this year to Saturday, January 5th, and I changed my mind. I don't want him going, because he would miss games on the 27th, the 28th, the 31st, January 3rd. So that's 4 games you'd be without Dalibor Dvorsky. Nope, I want him here.
Yeah.
Good luck, Devo. But in all honesty, I want what's best for him. But that would be a tough little stretch there. So we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out. So congratulations to him. I know you wanted to mention the guy I mentioned earlier by accident.
It came across my timelines as I'm looking up things, and I'm Snuggerud is a name who, again, another big prospect the Blues drafted 2 years ago. He's the number 3 scorer in NCAA right now. 14 games played, 7 goals, 13 assists. So you're looking at him. He's in his junior year now. I think Minnesota had a tough end to their season last year in the Frozen Four, or maybe 1 game out of the Frozen Four. So, who knows? But Snuggerud could be a guy who, at the end of the college season, if he does declare for the NHL, right, and start his professional career, is he a guy that gets added to this roster here for a potential playoff push here in Springfield? I don't know. Wishful thinking, optimistic thinking, but nonetheless, Snuggerud's a player I'm keeping distant eyes on, just to see how he's doing, and could he be a guy that gets added late to the roster to help for a playoff push? That would be fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll keep track of it. We'll see how that ends up. They might be on a long playoff run too. The way that their teams is shaken out. So that might be the case. But I think we keep eyes on guys like this all season, so that next year when they come around, we know a little bit more about them, which I think we did last year with guys like Dvorsky. So so keep our eye on it there. In terms of the injury update, Nikita Alexandrov deemed week to week according to Ryan Smith. I believe he was on crutches over the weekend, which is not ideal. Still waiting on Mackenzie McEachern, Zach Dean. Not sure how those two players where they are in their status, or everything's so hush, man. It's like you can't learn anything about it. It's like, how are we supposed to do a show today? And we don't know anything, but we'll see.
It's tough. The Dean injury is a bit concerning. I wish there was a play that we saw or something that happened. Like when Pekka was out, we saw him take the puck off his ankle last year. Saw him in a walking boot. No, it's broken. All right, he's
same with McEachern last year with his shoulder.
With the shoulder,
you just knew it.
The fact that Dean's been out this long, I would also imagine before he saw any sort of significant ice time, he's going to need some, conditioning stints. I don't know if you'd send him down to the ECHL just to get some conditioning stints in, but I mean, that's kind of what the AHL is for anyway. So maybe just throw him on a fourth line and let him play there. But, I was doing this sort of mental exercise in my head. If you had Mac and you had Dean and you have Nikki, I mean, you're looking at our whole fourth line that just gets pushed out basically. I mean, and so I say this in saying that like this team does have depth. So if you do miss a Dvorsky for a short stretch, I'm confident that the team depth behind them, we get these players back healthy. Team's still in pretty good shape.
Yeah, my two favorite players to watch in the 3 games this weekend were on that fourth line. So, which I think we'll get to a little later on. You're right. The depth is huge, and it's okay to be completely stacked, right?
Yeah.
But it is nice to know that when you do have these injuries, I think this was the problem last year. Guys get hurt, and you're like, who's here?
Yeah.
We haven't even brought up Simon Robertson, who's also I would consider an everyday player who's been out.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at guys like Laffey, or Drew Callen or Newkirk or Sam, sitting. And so it's nice to have the kind of depth to where you're looking at fourth liners going, no, please stay. I want to see you dressed.
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have. All right. So let's get into the games themselves, which, like we mentioned, it was a great weekend. But before we do, we want to mention that the SRG podcast is brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in Tower Square and downtown Springfield, and their new location in Amherst, your go-to pregame spot for T-Birds games. You can go check out their location. Go park in the Tower Square garage downtown Springfield before the game. Go in there. They will validate your parking for you while you're there. Grab some Seuss mac and cheese, some Boomer nachos. The Hall of Fame wings are excellent. Tons of beers on tap. And don't forget, you can also find them in your local liquor store cooler as well. White Lion Brewing, Amherst in downtown Springfield, proud local sponsor of the SRG podcast. Make sure you tell them that the fellas at SRG sent you. By our friends at Brewcade in Agawam on Walnut Street. Beer, arcade games, fun, darts, pool. You looking to get out of the house for an hour? Go meet your buddies down there. Have yourself a great time. Please tell Mike over there that we sent you. I know that I didn't make it, but Saturday was like our class reunion and everybody went there afterwards. I hear it was a real good time. So definitely go check that out if you can. If you want to join the Dart League, look them up and they'll give you more information on how to do that. And by our friends at Landscaping That Fits, 413-847-0338. I got the bill today for the treatment he did a couple weeks ago. And I get an email. I click on the email. The invoice pops up. I pay with Apple Pay. I'm done. It's painless. It's like the most painless bill that I pay. So even that part of the transaction is easy. But Rob at Landscaping That Fits wants to make sure you guys are ready for springtime. It's going to be here before you know it. It's already December. Get yourself on his list for the spring. Make sure that you are ready to go so that March comes around. You're not scratching your head going, what kind of fertilizer do I use? Just call Rob and he's going to take care of that for you. 413-847-0338, landscapingthatfits.com for more information. And again, follow them on social media. You can reach out to him at any time for that. So big thank you to those 3 sponsors that we have. And we can kind of breeze through this first game real quick because they lost. But first of all, congratulations to us. If only we were betting men. We kind of knew, kind of mentioned it last week, said, I don't know about this Utica game. It's kind of a trap game. Utica has just gone on a ridiculous tear here. They just keep beating teams. And so I think they started 0-14.
I think they were like 0-10 and 0-10 and 3 or 0-10 and 4 or something like that. Crazy.
Yeah, and they're 5-0 in their last 5. So they're really starting to turn it around. I don't even know. I can't even put my finger on it. I don't look at their roster and say they're loaded. I don't look at the style that they play and say that it's too good. I just think they're ballsy. They're gritty. They're going to push you for 60 minutes. And it's up to you to keep up. And like we talked about, I think we were playing Utica Comets hockey on Friday, not Springfield Thunderbirds hockey.
Yeah. To me, I mean, and again, we called it. I mean, the Thunderbirds were the more sluggish team. And, is that because the 4, not excuses, but, 4:00 start, no morning skate for the team. I think, and I mentioned this last week, as the home team here, you become a little bit more complacent, a little bit more comfortable. So is that harder to get kind of rolling with things? Utica, you're on the road, so you're on the road. But what stuck out to me again, it was, I don't think it was a bad game. It just didn't seem like the game that we've seen the Thunderbirds play over the past few weeks. They had 3 odd man rushes early in that game and only able to manufacture 1 shot out of the 3 odd man rushes. And that was Dylan Peterson's shot there. I think I was on the second odd man rush. I thought their power play looked decent against Utica. They did have 1 power play goal, but just moving the puck. I think it was Luff Pekka to Dvorsky who sent it home, but Luff goes behind the net, passes it to Pekka right there in the slot. 1 more additional pass, and goaltender was out of position, and it was an easy stuff for Dvorsky there. But other than that sort of power play goal, I thought it was a lackluster kind of performance there. But
yeah, that was the Hartford game. But even still, that was
that the Hartford game?
That was the Hartford game.
All right, then.
Wait a minute. Yeah, that was a Hartford game. But
all right,
but we'll get to that one, because
that's how uneventful that the Utica game was.
That was Dvorsky from McGing in the second. I gotta be honest, I'm not kind of blanking on how that one went in. But
yeah,
it's been a lot of hockey this weekend. But either way, you got good contributions from your second line. I thought the forward line was great. Drew Callan, Koskamaki, Peterson all get on the score sheet as well. Sam Bitten with a great fight against McKinnon.
Yep.
Tyler Tucker cross-checks the guy, and then that guy, and then somebody else comes, drops the gloves off, didn't give him a chance to get set, which is a game, 10-minute instigating misconduct. So see you later.
Yep.
So despite all that, Utica still stayed with the program. They really owned the first period. Second period was pretty neutral. I will say Springfield's second periods are getting much better.
Yes.
But they are a team that, like I said, kind of just grit and balls. Like, they'll just gonna keep coming at you in waves, and you got to deal with it accordingly. So I'm curious to see what happens here with Utica. Like I said, won five in a row, and like, it's a long season, so we'll see what happens. Man, to start off that bad and to be where they are, and to be a team you don't want to play against right now is pretty impressive. 4-1 win against Hartford. The Hockey Fights Cancer Night, I think it was very emotional. They always are. They're super emotional. I have this read I have to do, and I'm always like, God, this is easy. And then I start reading it, and I think about my dad, and I think about like all this, and I'm just like, I just barely get through the freaking thing. But there always seems to be some sort of air, some sort of confidence. For those of you who don't, I don't even know if you saw this, Matt, but they played this video beforehand. This is like my like super, like, just the coolest thing ever. So they played this video beforehand, and it's Will Bitten, and he's talking about, hey, Springfield, thank you so much for still doing Bits' Army, blah, blah, blah. Miss and love you guys, yada, yada, yada. And then he's like, and as Steve Forney always says, I'm like, what? I'm like, what? What do I always say? And he turns around his head, he goes, let's play some hockey. And I'm like, oh, William Bitten, you are my best friend in the whole wide world. So it's funny. So then I texted him. I was like, yes, I texted Russia. I said, thanks for the shout out. We miss you here. Hope everything's going well. And he goes, thought you'd like that one. The Birds don't lose on Bitsy's Army tonight. On Bitsy's Army night is what he said. So Will was watching the game and knew
that's awesome,
that the boys were going to take it home on Bitsy's Army night. But all the way around, a great game from Springfield. I thought they kind of dominated from the get and finished off Hartford 4-1, third win against this team this year.
Yeah. And starting to, I think, creep into the minds of Hartford fans, at least a little bit. It was the Springfield takes over Hartford, then Hartford trying to take over Springfield here. And, so creeping into the minds of Hartford a little bit. I think you could just tell right off the bat, for me at least, watching on TV, Springfield just had a little bit more pep in their step, kind of. They were more aggressive defensively. They were offensively in more control of the game. I thought from the point, the Thunderbirds were taking more shots, trying to create a little bit more with their defensive players, which is something we've been kind of talking about for a few weeks now. So I just thought it would, again, extra adrenaline, Bitsy's Army, crowd's rocking. You're in the nice threads.
Great crowd.
And
Great
you know, you could just tell it was just you had a different speed to the game for the Thunderbirds. So I thought it was a good way to bounce back from a tough, again, I don't think it was a bad game against Utica. Just, I don't think it was their fastest, most crisp kind of game that they could play. But it was that much better to see them bounce back against a very familiar rival. You know, those games are hard. You know what to expect from your opponent, and they know what to expect from you. And when you're kind of able to bounce back and really just kind of control the game from the opening puck drop, says a lot about the team.
Definitely. And you're right, though. I think it is starting to creep in. Louis Domingue did not have a good night.
No.
I remember that guy just absolutely just tormenting us last season. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what happened with him. They should have scored another one. His helmet fell off, which is why that goal got disallowed. But I thought they kind of owned him. I loved that Hartford actually wore their red jerseys.
Yeah, I thought,
which looked really crisp against the throwbacks. But I think you're really seeing these lines all play well together. And back up a little bit. This was the first game I can remember where they did do some line shuffling.
Quite a bit, actually.
Dvorsky was playing with Pekka. Kaskamaki was playing with Drew Callen. So they did kind of take that middle line and kind of spread it all out. And it worked out okay. I mean, Dvorsky, Pekka, and Luff, like, that's a great line. I thought that the other two, I thought Silvergard was fine. I thought that Kaskamaki was good. So, like, it seems like no matter where you put these guys, I just think the whole team right now as a unit are gelling. I feel like anybody can play with anyone, which is last week. I know I said, don't split this second line up for anything, whatever you do. Well, they did. And guess what? It worked anyway.
Still successful. But like Coach said last week, when talking to us, you need to have interchangeable parts, and you want to have your strengths working for you for the betterment of your line mates. And, there are plenty of interchangeable parts, so to speak, here on up and down this roster. So it kind of makes that a little bit, when you're shuffling lines, a little bit easier.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm just looking at it. Nice to see Drew Callen get into a fight. Tyler Tucker gets into a fight. So 2 fights in the game on Bitsy's Army night. Now, one of them was Sam Bitt. So that was a little shocked. I think everybody was kind of pulling for him to get the empty netter, but of course it goes to Matt Luff. Who else? This dude's just been ridiculous. I mean, we talk about where are we going to replace Adam Gaudette's scoring. He's got 8 points in 7 games, 5 goals in 7 games since joining the Thunderbirds. Does Matt Luff. Yeah. And I don't think people realize, maybe I didn't either. I see it on the sheet. Dude, he's 6'3", 225. Like, he's a big dude.
Yeah,
and
a big boy.
And he moves. And it's, these are the kind of, it's very like Alexei Toropchenko, like just a big dude who can skate and finish, and silky mitts. So just another phenomenal game and another really, honestly, great weekend for him. And then that leads us right into Providence, where I thought, quite honestly, it was, for me, the most entertaining game I've watched. It's a little different when I'm at the arena because I'm in work mode, but when I'm sitting on the couch watching it, I'm like, that was the most entertaining hockey game I've watched in a long, long time. Start to finish was awesome.
It was great. These were my notes on it, right? Grit, grit, grit. This was a game that I felt nothing really came easy, really, kind of, for any team, but I didn't feel that the Thunderbirds were stressed out about it. They just kind of, this is hockey. And again, when things we've been talking about, they got to learn how to win. They have to learn what it takes to win. I think they have. They've learned what it takes. They're willing to do it. We're going to talk a little bit more about Reese Newkirk, but man, oh man. And so they're in control of this game. For us as fans, right? Providence turned up the pressure in the third period and really peppering Ellis, and Ellis stood tall. No surprise there. Goaltending, phenomenal weekend from 3 games, and let's do the math. 3, 4, 5, 6 goals led up over 3 games.
That's not bad.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's a 2 goals against average. And I would like our odds as an offense. Can we score more than 2 goals a game? So this is the recipe. for this team. And it just, again, talk about being able to win different ways. Again, I don't feel like anything really came easy in this game. It was a battle. You had to work for it. The Thunderbirds never seemed stressed. They never seemed, there were a few sequences in the third that maybe they were running around a little bit defensively, but as you process it and in hindsight, they had their cool about it. And it came down to the wire, empty net. And you're right. A fun game to watch. Even more fun that they held off Providence and came away with the dub.
Yeah, you talk about doubt creeping in. I think even despite their third period push, I really do think Providence is mentally in a bad way. And and you can kind of tell by the way, just in stretches, they just kind of disappear. One other thing that I guess I meant to bring up with the Hartford game, but it's one thing to be good and to be good on talent. And last year we talked about the interim head coach. Not only is this team playing really well, but they're taking to coaching. I think you and I both can agree that the Giants and the Patriots not only stink, but they're not taking to coaching. They're making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And either the coaches aren't mentioning it or the players aren't listening. Before the Hartford game, Ryan said in the keys to the game that Connor Walchuk wanted to focus more on shooting. I wonder where he got that idea. On the Shake, Rattle, and Goal podcast. But anyway, just kidding, Coach. No, he the focus and emphasis was on shooting more, getting pucks to the net, creating chaos, greasy, grimy goals. Hartford, they outshot them 34-21. Providence, they lost the shot battle 27-26, but they lost it by 1. So coach says you shoot more. Guess what? They start shooting more. And you could tell by the way they played in both of these games that there was a focus on getting the pucks to the net, creating rebounds, creating chaos. And I think you saw that with some of the goals that they scored, some of the even I think the power play goal, I think Matt Luff's goal on the power play was kind of just frenetic, which as an offense, that's what you're looking for in a power play. You want the penalty killers to kind of be all over the place. So I thought that they, in general, had a really nice game. They didn't trail at all, right? They were up 1-0, then they were up 2-1.
Yep.
And then they were up 3-1. So, you never trailed and you never gave it up. And I guess I have what I'm going to start calling, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to have a hard hat of the weekend.
I like it.
And for me, it's Reese Newkirk, who not only got into a fight in I believe that was the Providence game, right? He fought Billy Sweezy, who's just a bulldog. I mean, I'm sitting there going, hold on tight, Reese, for this one. But he held his own.
That's what he kind of was doing. He held on tight.
Yes, he did. But props to him for doing it. And the big thing for me was 3 massive blocked shots in the power play that Providence had at the end of the third period. 1 goal game, hanging on. I believe the goalie was pulled 6-on-4, and Newkirk blocked 3 shots right in a row, right at the right inside the blue line. That really just stifled Providence's power play. It allowed the chaos behind him to get settled a little bit on his own team, and they hold on and they get the win. And I don't know if that happens without those 3 huge blocks by Reese Newkirk. But again, another guy who, if all those other guys are healthy, he's probably not dressing all that much. He wants to be here. He's playing hard and he's doing it.
But I think this is the culture that Coach Konowalchuk has emphasized and has created, is if Newkirk is doing it, when you do now have to decide who am I sitting on that 4th line, Reese is going to give up his body. I want to play. I better too. Right. So it creates now this healthy competition. Not that these boys probably needed more of it, right? They have it within them. That's why they're here. But I mean, it has to do something. If I know this guy's going to give up his body 3 times in a close 1-goal game in November,
right?
I know this guy's doing this now when there is a tough decision on who am I sitting tonight, who's getting the rest. I gotta do what I gotta do too to help this team. And you just see it up and down the roster. You see Tyler Tucker's doing this. Like I said, Pekka's got some extra juice this year, from my vantage point at least. And so it's exciting when you have guys up and down, talent aside, giving max effort, giving up the body, taking pucks off the face, getting into fights, sticking up for each other. That's a team that knows how to win and wants to win.
Right.
I'll take it. I'll take it
any day. So all that has led to your Springfield Thunderbirds in their last 10 games are 7-2-1.
Yeah.
Love that. Wilkes-Barre is also 7-2-1. The weird thing is I can't figure this out. Wilkes-Barre, so like Hershey's played 22 games, Charlotte 17, Lehigh Valley 19. We've played 20. Wilkes-Barre's played 16 games. What have they been doing?
Yeah.
Just like sitting around? Like they're in that Pennsylvania triangle. They should have however many games Hershey and Lehigh Valley have played, they should be right there. But they played 6 less games than Hershey. That's just weird to me.
They're gonna have to cram it in at some point,
right.
So
they're you definitely don't want that come April where you're playing 3-3s right? The Thunderbirds started the season with 2 or 3 3-3s. They just had another one this past weekend. So I think I would rather have them now than in April. So we'll see how that all shakes out with Wilkes-Barre. I'm looking to keep an eye on that long term. But yes, the Thunderbirds right now playing some darn good hockey. They are certainly fun to watch, and we're in really good shape here, I think, as a team. So we're looking forward to the fan rants. We do have a couple that I think are certainly worth talking about. I mean, a lot of them are pretty good points. A lot of them stuff we touched on, but there are some good ones in there too.
Yeah, so I'll just run down them. Sean Miller, he knows he's probably going to make some people mad here, but he wants to reiterate he believes Ellis is the clear one for this team. I think you're splitting hairs. I think you're 1A, 1B. I really don't think I'd aside from Hershey, and again, I don't pay much attention to a lot of other teams in the AHL like I do the Thunderbirds, and my peripherals extends to the Atlantic Division. So anything past that, I'm ignorant towards. I don't know of too many. I'll take an Ellis and Zarenko over just about anybody, I think. Again, I think Hershey has an edge there, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Colton Ellis are the second and third best goaltender in but as just a duo, as a tandem, I'll take it. Again, if you're giving up 2 goals a game between both guys, you're not 2 goals here and 4 goals with your other guy. I'll take this tandem over most teams. I would imagine in the AHL.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of the number 1A, I don't like, what does that mean anymore? Like, I don't think this isn't like Patrick Waugh going out and starting 60 of 82 games like they did in the 90s, right? So, and this has been the trend here. We're talking about different coaching staffs and everything else, but I mean, you can go back. Charlie Lindgren and Joel Hofer, I'm pretty sure we're pretty even. And then Joel Hofer and Vadim Zarenko were pretty even. And then Vadim Zarenko and Malcolm Subban are pretty even. And then so this has been a pattern now for half a decade. So I don't see why you change it up. I think that you do kind of ride the hot hand, which right now seems to be Ellis. I think that's why he got 2 games. I did think it was weird he got 2 in a row.
Yeah.
They don't usually do that. I'm surprised they didn't go Ellis, Zarenko, Ellis. Going Zarenko, Ellis to me was a little out of the ordinary, but I think
could coach be looking at it though and just saying, "Look, I'm giving each one of you a start, and who's I like better is getting number 3."
Could be.
Very well could be that. I do think from a pure prospect to the Blues, I think again with Vadim Zarenko's size, he's more of that prototypical NHL goalie. So I think if you're the Blues, you're looking at just as far as purely from a prospect standpoint, you're probably hoping Zarenko continues to develop what he needs to develop, and they're both still young, but I mean, you're splitting hairs. So I can't argue with you, Sean. I don't, clear number 1. I don't know if I would say that clear number 1. They're splitting time. But, I do think Ellis is probably right now playing a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up real quick. Colton Ellis was a 3rd round pick. Z was 208th overall. So it doesn't give me the round. Round 7. So
yeah,
you on paper prospect wise, you're probably looking at, I get what you're saying, but you're probably looking at Ellis. That's your 3rd round investment compared to your 7th round investment. But you also got to look at it and say, well, Zarenko got this far and he's playing this well, so what does that matter, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
if you're looking at it from 20,000 feet, so I just say you just kind of roll with them both, take it as far as you can, see what happens.
I'm with you. I don't think you have to mix up whatever. And we kind of asked Coach about it, and he said the players will dictate their playing time based on how they're practicing and how they're playing. I don't think you need to change up your methodology there. That it's working.
Agreed.
Real quick, Sam, friend of the show, Sam Robinson, embarrassed Sam Bin apparently. So she was able to make it to the game. She had a sign for Sam on the Bitsy's Army night and made him smile a little bit. So we're happy to hear that.
Nice.
Trini has a good question. Why did they call back the goal on Saturday? It looked like it went in, and then they called no goal. And you touched upon it, and you were right. Louis Domingue's mask came off, and the second that happens, whistle blown, play is halted for player safety. So that's why that goal was disallowed.
I never went back and looked at it, but it looked to me like that puck was in way before I saw that helmet bouncing on the ice. But
it was
going to
close.
go frame by frame. It looked to me like helmet or not helmet, he wasn't getting that puck.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't think he was getting it, but I mean, I guess if that was the deciding goal of a game, I probably would feel stronger about it. I'd be more upset. I guess I can understand erring on the side of caution.
Sure, of course.
And if you as an official, if what you're noticing is the mask coming off first before you see that hand point down to the goal line, the mask comes off, the whistle's blown. And if the other official didn't point to the goal line and blow his whistle, so I get it,
The best officiated game this weekend was, of course, Casey Terreri's, and it wasn't even close. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. Trini's dad's question: why didn't they call interference when number 34 is standing in front of the goalie? And what's goalie interference? You can stand in front of the goalie. You cannot interfere. You can't be in the crease, and you can't have contact with the goalie. So, standing in front of the goalie, Trini is that's what you want. You
stay there, you stay there unless somebody moves you.
Yeah,
and somebody who moves you is probably going to be a defenseman. So if they're not going to make you move, then you just stand there and screen away.
And that's something that I would like to see a little bit more from the Thunderbirds. A little bit more of that sort of slot presence there. But we don't really have the big bodies for that.
Yeah, well, they've had at least 2 tip-ins from the front over the last couple weeks. They had 2 in the last.
It's gotten better. It has gotten better. Daniel Flynn, great weekend. Give a shout out to Luff being the weekend star. Even though the team has 2 good weekends, what should the team try to improve on? For me, and again, we're splitting hairs. When you're winning, you're winning. I think the shot discrepancy and the power play are still my 2 things. I think you're playing with fire, and maybe Utica, it kind of caught us in the butt a little bit. You're giving up a lot of shots. There's very little wiggle room for error. And Zarenko played fine on Utica against Utica Friday night. But you're playing with fire and very little wiggle room. Power plays coming along. You know what? I don't know if it's fair. Maybe I just keep saying that because I'm used to it. I don't know what you can't expect them to rip off an 80% run on power play. That's not feasible.
But it's got to look better.
I agree. Yeah.
Like that goal they scored against Hartford was awesome. But other than that, I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but it just looks like they're kind of like standing, catch pass it. Another guy standing, passes it back. Another guy stand. There's no movement. There's no rotation. That's even moving around.
When they can get it in the offensive zone, they struggle so much getting it through the neutral zone with the power play. So maybe that's probably it for me. It's not so much the goals. They'll come. Let's just have it look like you have a player advantage, instead of getting stopped at the blue line, chasing the puck back. Pekka brings it over through the neutral zone with speed. 1, 2, 3 passes up, clear. Let's just put something together.
They are doing that slingshot reentry. They're starting to do that again, which I not just them. I don't like when any team does that, but they're starting to do that again a lot. So we'll see if that helps or hurts or anything. I think the only thing that I would is at the top of my list is clearing the pucks and having puck possession smoothly while they're in their own end. And if they're going to play this bend but don't break defense to where you are in your own zone defending for 45 seconds, a minute 15, however long it is, when you get that puck, you can't ice it. You can't fling it to the blue line and hope that they don't stop it. You have to be productive with that puck. And there's still a lot of, blind backhand, no look passes to absolutely no one. But if you're in your own D zone for a minute and you get that puck, you need to know how you're getting it out of the zone so you can get a line change so the next group can come on. And what's happening is it's not getting out. And now your 1 minute of defending turns into 2 minutes of defending. And now you're exhausted. Now, so it compounds, right? So puck possession and clearing from their own zone into the neutral zone. And again, possession is so key, right? In all sports, possessing the ball is everything. Ball security, as Belichick calls it. Ball security. They have to have puck security when they get that thing, especially in their own zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And our last one from Terriana Aldrich. Game in Providence was awesome. Wish more fans could have made the trip to support the boys. Yeah, it would be great. I know I couldn't make a trip up to Providence on a Sunday. So, I can't fault people. It would be nice to have more bus trips, maybe more fan bus trips.
It would be cool.
Boosters. So when you're in the Thunderdome, I know they have a table. Go out there, talk to the boosters, try to support, join the Boosters Club. Maybe we could have more away bus trips because it's not like we travel very far often, So,
yeah, it's not you're right. I think it would be people would be more willing to do it if they didn't have to drive. They didn't have to pay to park. They didn't have to you get on the bus, you bring your 30 pack of beer or whatever, and you just, you do it that way.
Have fun. Yeah.
I think that's my thing. I mean, my favorite band now is playing in Albany. I'm like, oh, I go to Albany. It's like, Steve, it's an hour and a half. Go up there and see the show and come back. Like I did when I was 25, So there's a little bit of that, I think, too. But it would be nice. I mean, like I said, I try to get to Hartford at least a couple times a year. I'm not driving to Bridgeport because that's just a miserable, miserable drive. But it is times that I miss having a team in Albany. Like Albany is super drivable. It's so easy. Yeah. It's right off the pike. It's a clean city. You're in and out. It just stinks that they couldn't make it work. But those would be the two cities that I would go to the most to are Hartford, Albany, and then Providence. But I don't know if I've ever been to Providence, Rhode Island. I gotta be honest. I think I've been to the state of Rhode Island once for a wedding, and I don't think I ever went back. Seems nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you're missing. I have family in Rhode Island. I'm trying to think. I mean, I've never been to a Providence game.
I hear the Amp's a nice arena.
Yeah, but you're not missing much.
Can I bring up one thing kind of random real quick?
Yes,
maybe
you
this
can.
is again. I'm the sort of broadcasting nerd. Did anybody else, or even you, Matt, did you notice on Saturday that Ryan's calls were a split second ahead of the play on Flow Hockey?
Yes, they were. It was all weekend.
Was it really all weekend? Okay, because
I
didn't
also
catch
noticed
the first two.
And you know what? People comment on the show. Let me know if this is my volume. I had to crank my volume up on my TV. So yes,
my TV's usually at like 17. I had it up to like 40.
Yeah, game. Same. No, same. I try to keep mine at like 12 to 15, the volume, because my kid, the volume in the house gets too loud. And I had to crank it up in the 40s. So the volume I had to crank up, and all weekend long, Ryan's voice did not match. I thought it. I'm trying to think.
Not Ryan's fault. It looked like
no. I don't know.
Yeah, the video broadcast was a slight second behind. He's talking about Silvegaard shooting while Silvegaard's still in his windup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was that kind of thing. And it just eventually annoyed me. But anyway.
Yes.
Thanks again, Full Hockey.
No, I did notice that as well.
All
right.
Cool.
That's it for our fan rants. Thank you very
right.
much for chiming in there, fans. We'll keep them coming every week if you guys keep playing along with us.
Yes, absolutely. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. We look ahead here to what we have coming up this weekend. Friday against Bridgeport, another Deuces Wild Friday, 7:00. Again, a game you got to win. You just got to win. Let's be done with this whole Bridgeport thing.
Yep.
Let's drop 6 on them and get the hell out of there. But definitely come early. Pregame concert, the beers, the glizzies, all those kind of things that you people are into. Enjoy. I don't get any of them. Although I don't know why I don't go up. I should just go get a $2 hot dog. What the hell am I waiting for? Saturday, this is the one I'm looking forward to. It's against Rockford. I haven't seen the Rockford Ice Hogs in forever. I personally think that it's the best uniform in the best logo, I should say, in the league. Give or take. There's a couple, but like when I see the players down there, I'm gonna ask a Rockford guy if I can have a hat because I can't get one off the website for whatever reason, and that pig is so cool. Yeah, just love that big, huge pig. But it's also Teddy Bear Toss and Santa Boomer Jersey Night. So you get both of them there. You get the Santa Boomer jersey, which is always so cool. Last year's was great. Again, this one's going to look different. They always do, I'm sure. And the Teddy Bear Toss gets to go out. And obviously, the more teddies you get, the better. I go to the dollar store and I get 10 of them for $10. And it's like you're just going to make 10 kids smile. So it's totally worth it.
My kids, we're going to be at this game. This was our goal this season, to get to as many sort of central teams as possible, teams we don't usually get to see. So we circled this one right off the get, and happy it's Teddy Bear Toss and the Santa Boomer Night. My kids already have the teddy bears picked out that we're bringing and going to throw onto the ice. So we're excited for this one.
A lot of interesting guys on this Rockford team. Zach Sanford played for the St. Louis Blues for at least a couple seasons. Jerry Mayhew was with Bridgeport and Charlotte, and always sort of gave the Thunderbirds fits. Marcel is a draft pick. I just love his name. His name is Marcel. That's fantastic. Jackson Cates, his brother Noah Cates, is playing with Philadelphia. He's supposed to be pretty good. Andreas Athanasiou, which is the guy who always tripped up Jack Edwards. He could never get that guy's name right, but he's played for the Detroit Red Wings for a decade, I got to think, in that system. So he's been up and down. So he's an NHLer. They got guys on the back end that are really good. Kevin Korchinski is a really talented prospect. I don't know anything about the goalies, though. So, Rob Klinkhammer is one of their assistant coaches. He played in Springfield. So, I think this is going to be a fascinating matchup. I'm looking forward to it.
I also think a player to watch here is Frank Nazar. I think he was the Blackhawks first round pick, number 13 overall back in 2022. Way back when. So, and he's kind of lighting the lamp right now. He's their leading point scorer on the team. The Ice Hogs right now are sitting 7-9-2. That's good for fourth place in the Central. So, I think it's always fun when you're seeing these opponents. Again, if you come away with 2 points here, let's hope it's against Bridgeport. But I think this is a 3-point weekend, easy. And let's get the 3 points,
Let's do it. And let's have some fun. Let's have some fun while we're doing it. And let's be nice and kind and respectful to everybody sitting around us, please, if you could. Shouldn't be any drama. It's not a high school, which I'll do tomorrow. We don't need that at the games, right? But we do want to thank our friends at White Lion Brewing in Amherst on North Pleasant Street and in downtown Springfield. We want to thank our friends at Brewcade. I'll get there. Brewcade in Agawam right on Walnut Street, and to our friends at Landscaping That Fits, 847-0338. Give them a call for spring, so you're all ready to go. But other than that, man, this was fun. This was nonstop.
Another fun episode, another fun week. Again, coming off 2 dubs here for the Thunderbirds. We got to keep it rolling. Thank you, fans, for listening. Thank you for the social media, talking on our fan rants. Hey, let's have fun at the Thunderdome this weekend. Everybody's there for a good time. Everyone's there to cheer on our Thunderbirds. Let's go. 2 big games. Let's get 2 big wins. Let's go, team.